Come on. There we go. Okay, welcome everybody. So we were actually having a discussion prior to hitting record on this one. So we were basically talking about filling in officer positions for the board. Chris had noted that until we had a full board of 9 individuals, that it wouldn't be prudent to fill in those positions being president, 2 vice presidents, I believe we'd have to double check that, 2 vice presidents, as well as a secretary and treasurer. So just to get everybody up to speed. So now that we're recording, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the big issue is are we a functioning board? And I would say no, we're not yet, because we haven't met our capacity. And the way the bylaws are structured is that when there's vacancies, that's supposed to be our number one priority. We're supposed to chase down directors and hold them down and throw them into the spot. And then, you know, and really that's what I felt like I was doing, you know, the last 8 or 9 years, is all I was doing was recruiting directors. And then, you know, we had our small core group of people, and then we would have people that would rotate in and out, you know, based on however they felt like they could do things. So I think the success of the organization is going to be, can we fill 9 spots? I mean, you know, if we can't fill 9 spots, you know, then maybe we need to be doing something else. You know, maybe that's the, you know, maybe we're just not able to keep 9 people keep 9 people coming to the meetings and working on the organization. But so I think that while this would technically be the time where we would elect those officers, I don't think until we have 9 people that want to show up and get work done, that it makes any sense to you know, to fill those officers' positions. So I would say that we're still kind of in emergency mode, trying to get the organization up to full speed. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
that makes sense. Oh, go ahead.
My experience and my understanding of how organizations work, especially nonprofits, is that the responsibility for the organization goes to the directors and the officers mainly, and that if we don't have officers, then every board member is the same amount of responsibility all the way around for all of the positions of the officers. So Curtis, well, he basically does a bunch of the activities of that. He's not in a position of oversight. So I would think, even if we don't have a full board, that having a secretary, treasurer, and a president is appropriate, just so that those responsibilities are someone knows who's supposed to be looking at what, instead of all of us expecting the other person to do it.
I'm inclined to agree with Randy on that one. Yes, I understand we don't have a full board, and I think that members of the board, as well as myself, should be charged with trying to fill in that board. But where we do have at least enough people to fill those positions, I mean, technically we could have a board of 3 with a president, vice president, and secretary, right? And ideally a treasurer, but that's usually not a requirement with something so small. So, you know, I think that we can always reevaluate once we do get a full board. If someone wants to be another vice president, or if someone wants to be the treasurer, we can. I don't know if the bylaws say specifically that you're locked in for a full term, but a lack of 9 full members, I don't feel, kind of going to Randy's point, is a reason not to at least assign people some duties, if that makes sense. And I acknowledge too that we don't have a full number of people here. I think it's partially because it was Sunday. I thought I sent out a reminder. I realized I did not, so that was my mistake. I know that Bree, for example, was not going to be able to make this particular meeting. I don't know where John is. He's usually pretty good about that. So we could always have a discussion offline, start an email conversation, and then make it official, maybe on the next meeting or something like that. But just saying, hey, who wants to do what, and we could take it from there. What are your guys' thoughts?
Well, you know, with what I said, I also don't think it's that critical because we don't have a big pot of money and nobody's going to be out there doing actions that would cause liabilities to the group. So it's not that big of a deal. So, but
Yeah, I mean, and I think, and I guess this is why I'm more inclined to just say, you know, Curtis is handling the most of the secretary roles. I'm handling most of the president treasurer roles. So, you know, and again, my inclination would be that, I mean, I've technically been the treasurer since day one, right? I started the bank account, you know, I did all of that stuff. So, you know, maybe I mean, maybe we need to look at the roles a little bit more and maybe we, I don't know, combine them or do something or reduce the executive committee's role or whatever. But I mean, as it kind of rolls into things, basically the people that show up are the ones that are going to have to be doing the work anyway. So I don't know, maybe we just put it on hold. And well, like I said, I think, Randy, I think you're right that we don't have a lot to do. There's not a lot. It's not like we have to have any of these roles absolutely positively filled. I'm still going to be balancing the bank accounts.
so then I would suggest, and if you want, I can make a motion, but what if we just make you all the officers right now until we are able to flesh out the board more and have a real election?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. I don't.
Because if
I
you're
don't-
doing it, you might as well do it.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm not too worried about, other than the fact that it's in the bylaws and it says we are supposed to have it. But then again, that's where I go back to this idea that, well, we're supposed to have 9 total directors as well, and we don't. And here today we only have 4.
Is it? I thought it said you can have up to 9. I don't, usually board bylaws and stuff don't say you have to have a certain number.
Yeah, the bylaws say you have to have 9, and that when there's a vacancy, we have to fill it immediately. It's what the bylaws say, but we've never, again, I think we've had a full board maybe once or twice for a couple of cycles, and then that actually never really happened because the people that were you know, voted in to fill the board, once they were voted in, they just didn't show up.
Right.
So,
Well, then if everyone's fine with it, then let's just go ahead and kind of continue what we're at, maybe with the charge of, I mean, like I said, I'm trying to reach out. I've got a lot of things, obviously, but I suggest it to people who are willing to listen. And if the other members of the board are able, that they should proselytize as well and see if they can't get those filled in. So it's not just Chris either asking for people to join. So maybe if we can make that a charge of everyone on the board, of, you know, if someone expresses particular interest in transit, that we invite them to, you know, I can vet them, I can kind of talk to them a little bit. And then if I feel that they might be a good fit, send them up to Chris, who can then kind of do an emergency, congratulations, you are now part of the board. And then kind of that person that filled that vacancy, pretty much like, with the exception of Zach, pretty much how everybody got on the board originally.
yeah,
So
and that's, I mean, and that's the other thing is that technically the only way that people can get on the board is if the entire board votes them in. So I think maybe what I'll do is I'll task myself to and we can have a December meeting, but by December I'll have some resolutions that will make that easier to happen.
Okay.
if that's amenable. And then that way we can get through the rest of this, meeting really quick without any delay. So
Okay.
whether we want to make that as a motion or whatever.
So is the motion just to put those resolutions together or?
Yeah,
All right,
I'll,
well,
I'll be
I think
tasked to
you,
put the resolutions together.
well, I think you just made a resolution. Is there a second?
I don't know if that,
Oh,
does that really need to be resolved? I mean,
no, that's a
it's
good,
just
that's a good point.
agenda item, so let's just put it down for discussion for next meeting.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
could do
we're
that.
fine.
So
We're fine.
yeah, I think you're fine. Actually, that is a good point. So Chris, if you just want to get those ready, send them over to me. I'll make them an agenda item for December. And then we'll just take it from there. Okay. With that being said, unless there's anything else on that topic, let's go ahead and move on. I sent over August minutes, the special session minutes that we had, and then October minutes because we didn't have a full quorum in September. We could either do a bulk motion to put those all in as approved, or if you want to go one by one, whatever you would like to do.
So
But I can't.
I
ahead.
did notice one thing. I think it was in the
Okay.
October minutes with
Okay.
on the discussion about the whether it was a hill to die on the whether we were allowed to have a flyers and stuff. Was that in the October minutes?
For
Somewhere
flyers?
there's a phrase, and I don't have that up in front of me. I was going to try and remember where it was. I think it's in the October minutes, and it was on the discussion about the Pleasant Grove opening.
Yeah, that would have
whether we were allowed to get together on the private property of the of where the stop is, right?
Yeah, that would have been closer to September or October. That would have been, I think it's the August minutes, actually. Let's see. I'm just scanning through really quick.
In like the second or third paragraph.
Yeah. Yeah. Vineyard stop activity recap. Let's see. John asked about the First Amendment issues related to us not being able to flyer. Chris notes that the law treats the land as private property and that there are ordinances that only really allow the land to be that only really allow the land to only be used for getting on or off the bus. In addition, Curtis added that it was not a bridge we want to burn. Chris did note that there were some loopholes if we had the blessing of the UTA executive director.
Oh yeah, I guess it was the bridge to burn. That has a double negative in it that doesn't. We just need to make it clear what we mean by that. It's nitpicky, I know, but
no, that's fine. Let me pull up the word meeting. We want to be accurate.
I'm an accountant. I like to pick nits.
Okay.
So let me just get there in Word because I was looking at the PDF really quick. Come on. Oops, that was the special session. Was it? Why isn't it pulling up?
Well, we could just make a note that we need to fix that. And then,
okay, I'll make a note of that. And
then I think all the I would motion that we approve all the minutes. I looked at them, and so
okay. Well, then, with the exception of that slight wording change, Randy has made the motion to approve all 3 minutes.
I'll
Is there a second?
that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Sounds good. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next agenda item. Let's talk about what I've done over the past month. So really quick, since our last meeting, I've done 19.5 hours of work. As far as outreach, obviously we had our convention and that went off, I think, pretty well, all things considered. Voting was pretty easy. We had, I think it was about 12 or 13 people on the call. Overall, I was pretty pleased with how it went. It was pretty smooth, at least on the front end and the back end, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, that was probably the biggest one. Also, one of the things that I've started to implement is kind of just a monthly check-in email. So it's not like the quarterly newsletter. It's just kind of a real quick, hey, here's some stuff that's going on. For example, it was before UDOT released its horrible plans for Davis County. But UTA, for example, has like their writer survey. And so I threw that on there along with a couple of other things. So I'm just going to start sending out real quick, like monthly check-ins is kind of the plan. Just to kind of keep people continually engaged with that. Also, I've met with, had a call with Gray Thomas. He was actually pretty vocal during the convention, and he wanted to get a little more involved. After talking with him for a little while, he's really good he's very interested and has experience in building like media strategies, like formal media strategies. So on a volunteer basis, he is kind of starting to put that together. I reached out to him the other day. I haven't heard back. It was probably about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago at this point that we talked. So I just kind of checked with him on Friday, and I just haven't heard back from him yet. And then, I just published a post about UDOT's plans in Davis County, how terrible it is. And I think that we can continue to kind of hit on that. On the fundraising side, Chris, thank you for finishing Amazon Smile. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that program or not, but it's basically, instead of going to the main Amazon site, you go to smile.amazon.com, and then like 0.5% of your purchase price goes towards a nonprofit. So Chris and I were working together to get that set up. And so I saw the email this morning, so I'll need to move forward on that. But we'll have an Amazon Smile account. Just tell people, hey, go here, put in UTRU, and then we'll basically get some revenue coming in through that. How much? I don't know, but hey, it's something. Similarly, Smith's has a similar deal where they actually set up with the Fresh Values card. You can actually go in, and then they also will scan and send like 0.5% of your purchases over to a nonprofit of your choice. For some reason, that has to be mailed in. So I sent that out yesterday. I'd imagine it'd probably be a week or two before we hear back. Chris, it'll be coming to your address, just to let you know. But yeah, I don't know why it needs to be mailed in 2022.
You mean I gotta go check the mailbox?
I know, I'm a monster.
I gotta put my shoes on and everything.
I know, but hey, it's for money, so I'm sure you can. There you go. Let's see. And then the other thing is I've started to really kind of flesh out gathering contacts for city outreach as far as getting people signed up for the advocacy training and funds for advocacy training. So I'm trying to find like transportation directors or mayors or council members, anybody that I'm willing to listen, at least for an email, and take it from there. So I started to do that. Continuing to start to reach out to banks and credit unions to see if those are sources for money. Zach actually sent me over some information with the I can't talk. I'm sorry. The Noruda, I can't remember. I apologize, Zach. But anyway, it was a nonprofit. It was a great idea. Unfortunately, we needed to have a minimum operating budget of $350,000, which we're not quite there yet. So we had to pass up on that one. But like I said, I'm continuing to reach out to banks and credit unions as well. Really kind of going forward, my focus is fundraising. That's kind of what I've been chugging towards. I know Chris wants me to do that, and I don't blame him. So I'm there on that. As far as networking, I've met with the 2 new board members. Zach is on here now. I met with Bree as well, and just kind of got them caught up to speed on everything that we're going on. Also met with Ellen Burrell, Cottonwood Heights City Council. Had a good, probably hour-long conversation with her. She's an auxiliary for transportation planning along the Wasatch Front. She really sounds like an advocate for transit. I think that there's a relationship that we could build there. So I will continue working with her to see if there's more that we can do. John's not on the phone, but I also presented to the Planetary Health Alliance. This was a nationwide conference. I gave about 10 minutes on the use of emotion in policy, and I'm going to be able to incorporate that into the advocacy training that I'm planning on doing. So it was kind of doing double duty as far as that's concerned. Like I'll touch it up and make it more localized, but basically a section of the advocacy training is now complete because of that presentation. And then Mike and I both sat on the Wasatch Front Regional Council kind of emergency meeting they had discussing free fare forever or some version of that. I remain pessimistic personally, but the Wasatch Front Regional Council, along with UDOT and UTA, are looking at the possibility of actually making free fare forever a thing. They're going to be presenting probably at this point their findings in a week or so. That meeting was what, 2 weeks ago, Mike? Maybe a week ago, something like that.
I'm not exactly sure because it all blurs together.
Yeah, I know. But that sounds right. Like my timetable seems about right. Does that feel right? Okay. That's what I thought. Yeah, I'm not optimistic, but we'll see what happens. And then for numbers, we had 15 new Twitter followers. We're now up to 503. We have one new TikTok follower. I'm going to start working on TikTok a little bit more. We're now at 2, but we also haven't pushed out TikTok at all, so I'm not too worried about that. Similarly with YouTube, we have one new follower. We're up to 4 again. I mean, it's mostly these meetings that are posted there, so I'm not entirely surprised we don't have a ton of subscribers. As far as members, we had 21 new members sign up over the past month. We're at 129. We now have 15 people currently signed up on the mailing list that do not want to be considered members. That's up from one more from last month. And then for the 2022-2023 year, so basically the start of the convention, we've had 5 people pay dues. One of them is recurring, which is always nice. Like it's $23 something recurring, so that's a plus. So yeah, those are my updates. Any questions? Okay, sounds good. So the next agenda item was just welcoming Bree and Zach. I knew Bree said that she probably was not going to be able to attend. She warned me in advance, just because her Sundays are kind of on and off just for now. I know that she apparently just moved not terribly long ago, so I know she's a lot. But Zach, you are on the phone. Do you want to give a brief kind of welcome and hello and all of that?
Hey, you guys can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of met me last time, but it's good to be here. Let me know if I can do anything for you. Sorry, I'm not on video right now.
Is it
actually,
is it all you thought it would be?
I think I like seeing potential and growth, and I'm just excited to be here. So I'm kind of definitely a transit nerd.
Nice. Yeah, and obviously, Zach, like one of the things that I want to do is lean on the board as much as possible for, recruitment, volunteers, all of that sort of stuff coming in the next year. We started doing that in the previous session, and I think we can continue growing on that. So yeah, welcome aboard. And then once Bree is able to come on, hopefully on the next meeting, we'll have her just kind of say hi as well. All right, well, the bulk of this, and it kind of blurs together, right? Planning for 2022, 2023, and the open forum, that just kind of blurs together, obviously. So I'll just kind of open it up as far as discussion is concerned, kind of in the short term. I do want to put together the Women in Transit survey. I want to, what I think I'll do, as opposed to last time where it's just like, oh, it's bikes, we'll put it out there, is like, I think I want to put together a draft, send it around, and especially if we know of, like Bree, for example, if we know of women on transit specifically, maybe ask them, because I don't know if you've noticed, but we're a bunch of white men. And we don't know what that's like. So if we can have even just a couple women who do and don't use transit, just kind of look it over before we push this out. I think that would be wise. And so that's the only real thing as far as like in the short term, I would like to get achieved. But yeah, I will open it up. What are your guys' thoughts? What would you like to see for the coming year? Not all speak at once.
I want to flip over a bus and set it on fire.
Okay, well,
Either
we can get you a map.
that or demand more service, which I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know how to do that. That's my only suggestion is to get to put the fact that we, need to get that service, re-implemented, reinstalled, uninstalled.
Sure.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Reinstalled.
Reinstalled. Is that the right word? I don't think that's the right word.
Reactivated.
Regenerated. Re-implemented.
It's a re. We know it's a re.
It's reestablished.
Reestablished. Maybe that's it.
Established.
I think
There you go.
yeah. But again, and I was thinking about this. I have not seen, unless anybody else has seen, service disruptions. How do we know that they're really, again, still behind on drivers? Other than that, there was a couple of instances where they, tweeted that this route is gone. Is anybody aware of any widespread service cutbacks, or are people being ghosted by buses where it says bus is going to show up and then it never does?
I have heard that it has happened occasionally. I know UTA has been trying hard to, that's the whole reason why they made some service reductions going into December, is so that they can avoid situations like that. But I was actually at the UTA's budget hearing this week. And there was a large turnout from Students for the Wasatch, which is a group of students from the University of Utah. And they were very disappointed in UTA cutting service to Big and Little Cottonwood Canyon. And Jay Fox explained how the reductions aren't just to ski service; they're throughout the entire system, in order to avoid situations where they would have basically ghost buses that never show up. And they also addressed the fact that no, it doesn't have anything to do with the gondola. So, but I believe it'd be worth our time to reach out to Students for the Wasatch as a group to partner with, because they're very passionate. One other thing that I wanted to mention, and I sent out an email about this just afternoon, the whole UDOT's proposal to add more lanes between Farmington and Salt Lake City has prompted Building Salt Lake to reach out to me for an op-ed, which I put together last night and sent everyone the link to it. So we're going to try and get that op-ed out tomorrow ahead of the UDOT open houses this coming week. And Sweet Streets is pretty gung-ho about wanting to fight this freeway expansion. So I think there's a big opportunity for UTRU to also jump into the ring and say, hey, let's support transit expansion instead, rather than waste money on adding lanes that'll just cause more traffic in the end.
Yeah, so I think the argument is that we just cut a lot of service back, and so now let's add more lanes to the freeway, and that's going to cost $1 billion. I don't know. I haven't seen any cost studies on it yet.
So there's no cost studies yet. Right now, it's just in the preliminary phase. So in the blog post that I put together, I did some real sort of back of the napkin math on it, kind of going off of the core project down in Utah County as kind of a general guide. So kind of my back of the math, let's see, this project would add 8 to 10 new lanes for 18 miles of road, 18 miles of road time, 10 new lanes, $2.7 billion was the back of,
and so you could, with $2.7 billion, you could run front runner trains every 10 minutes and have buses pouring out of every station every 5 minutes for $2.7 billion.
Yeah. and just again, as perspective as well, that would 100% fund UTA for almost 7 years, like 100%. So it's just, I think that there's definitely an opportunity for UTRU to get involved on this. And Mike, you said you emailed that out. I obviously we already have one blog post up on it, but I'm happy to just kind of reprint it as well. So you said that that's hopefully coming out tomorrow. Do you want me to embargo that until it gets out, or do you want me just to publish it or not publish it? What
Probably
would you like?
wait to publish it until after Building Salt Lake does tomorrow.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Well, I can get it prepped at the very least.
Yeah.
And get it up there and just be like, you true board member, So, okay. But yeah, I mean, I'm personally inclined to make this one of the things that UTRU focuses on.
Okay, so let me I just had an epiphany. So we need to call this service choices. We need to use the same words that UTA is using. This is what they did with their they called it service choices, right? So what do you want? What do you want with the money? And so service choices. The service is, do we expand the freeway or do we give people the ability to get off the freeway? That's really what it comes down to, and that's what we have to talk about. Service choices. Do we get people off of the freeway and into transit, or do we just keep building freeways until we're like California?
Right.
And not that California is bad, other than the fact that it's total traffic. But yeah, service choices. This is what we need to call this. Service choices. This is a choice about better and more transit, or just people adding more cars. And on a note, my car is gone. I am now completely 100%.
Well, good job. You're better than me.
Congratulations.
But you could do it too, sir. You could do it too. You just have to be willing to walk or wait extra time for your bus.
Yeah.
Or screw up your legs. Like I ran for my bus transfer when I was getting my hair cut, and I hurt my shin splints. My shin splints started saying, you can't run anymore, old man. So anyway, yeah, but that's what we need to call this, something service choices. These are choices. The choice is, do we expand the freeway or do we expand transit? So we can't attack this as of, at least from a UTRU perspective, we can't say we're totally against expanding the freeway, which we are, but we just have to lay it out there. Do we want 18 lanes of freeway, or do we want more people to get off of the freeway? And so we just put it as a question. It's a question that we ask people.
So
no, I agree. Oh, go ahead, Randy.
I agree too. I'm just, if we can, if we're ready to move on, another initiative or goal, I think that would be a great thing is to try and educate people on how they can have input and make a difference on change day services and routes. So not necessarily that we need to go out and say, you need to advocate for this, but just get it out there that I think UTA tries to do it a little bit, but it's a little bit half-hearted and I don't think I get the feeling that they really do mean that they want you to tell them what to do or what you want. But
it's not going to make a difference.
You don't think it'll make a difference?
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, if I mean, it could, but I think, I mean, you're right in that one of the reasons why they don't advertise, and we got them to push it back, by the way. They used to do it 60 days, but now we've told them that they need to do it 90 days out. But in general, I have never seen them step back whatever they were planning on doing. And there's a lot of reasons for it, but so the big thing was the change of the 209 route that went up into the avenues. And if you remember, everybody got their broomsticks and their pitchforks, and they were gonna, they said, well, there's got to be a better way. And well, what it came down to is the Salt Lake City master plan was developed back in 2017 that it said, we want 15-minute service through the avenues. Well, everybody in the avenues basically, they didn't hear about it or they didn't care about it. I know it was widely advertised, but effectively they came out, they had that big meeting up with the community council, and they said, and there were a lot of people that came out, they were against it. And so it was like, we don't want the increased traffic, 66 buses, considering that most of those streets have 2,000 cars a day. 66 buses isn't going to make a big deal. But more to your point is that right now it doesn't make a difference. And so I think part of what that goal is that you're talking about is we need to get more people involved. And then once people are making their desires known, then what's going to happen is that UTA they're just going to eventually we have to point it out that there are people that are upset with these changes that happen, right? I'm upset that 209 goes through the avenues. Now I don't have a direct line to downtown anymore. Now I absolutely positively have to transfer in order to get downtown, right? So there are trade-offs, but the point is that I think what you're saying is that we have to get more people involved on these change day
So maybe
change
make
days.
it a dual effort. One is to get the word out that people should participate, and then maybe we can try to figure out if there's a way to make more accountability or to track what the responses are, so that we can say, well, look, we had a whole bunch of comments that said they wanted this, but you didn't change it. You didn't listen. So I don't know if that's possible or not, but that would
also
be
one of the things that we could, so one of the things maybe on that front that's just pinging in my brain right now is maybe we can, UTA, excuse me, has obviously their like submission form and those sorts of things, but those kind of stay in the back, right? Those and what I think maybe we could do is we could put them up front and center. Here's what people are saying about the changes. Maybe we set up a web page or, a page on our website, I should say, and just kind of auto update. Like, this is what people are saying. Like, what route are you concerned about? What is your thought? And then kind of have this live marketplace, so to speak, of here is what people are saying, as opposed to UTA taking the information, throwing it into a report, and then, okay, it's an appendix B, right? If we can make it more upfront, more out there, direct more people to it, get more people talking about it, that's certainly something I'm sure we could set up without much difficulty, and just kind of generate more activity around that so that, people get upset and people say something about it, and, something like that. So this is just me kicking it around right now, but I think that's something we could definitely do.
I'm not really pushing for people to get upset, but I just think one of the things we can do is just educate people on how they can make a difference, and then try to make sure that when people try to make a difference, that they get listened to. Yeah.
So I'm sure we could build something off of that. Like I said, this is just kind of off the top of my head, but I think that's a good idea. Yeah. Okay. Any other kind of general thoughts, ideas where we want to go?
I think the three things that are out there right now are probably enough. The freeway expansion, the idea that Randy just brought up about change day, getting more people involved, and then reestablishment of the service that's been cut back, and that we need to be pressing UTA on, it's April change day is coming. Do we have our service back? What routes can you reestablish? And they got to be able to do it, right? Because if the problem is drivers, and supposedly they're hiring drivers, but it's just not enough, then at some point, like next August, change day in August, how many routes are going to be, reestablished? I went 45 to have a 15-minute headway again, right? Because I don't like waiting around the liquor store for a half hour.
You don't want to be that guy.
I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah,
So-
I think those three things those are, if we got two of the three done, we'd be in good shape.
Yeah,
So-
and I agree. Yep. So I think those are really the priorities for the
And then-
upcoming year.
And then membership growth and filling out the board.
Yep. Well, and so one of the things that I would like is, and Mike already has kind of touched on this indirectly, but like, we need to make sure that we're having presence at UTA events. Well, I mean, obviously, if we can be statewide, that's great, but UTA is the big kahuna, right? So if we can have a presence, even if we have to do like a sign-up sheet of, you know, this person's going to attend this meeting and this board member is going to do this, and just be there, be prepared to speak on whatever they're talking about during that meeting. Because if there's one thing, I'm sure that there's some beat reporter from the Tribune or something, right? And so if it's constantly someone's like, hi, I'm such and such from UTRU, here's what I think, that's going to continue to build traction. Then obviously we can also, you know, yes, budgetary meetings are pretty big deals. We can see that pretty well, but even just that day-to-day stuff. So if we can kind of figure that out, I think that that would be great too. If we know of events and can go to them, I would like to put that on the board to attend, because I can't attend everything. So that's just something I want to throw out there as well, is if we can kind of start to come up with a plan on that, that would be great. Okay. And it sounds like we got a pretty full plate for the coming year, which is awesome. Anything else kind of in the open forum in the last couple of minutes? We've talked about quite a bit. All right, well then, yeah, I will go ahead and put together meeting minutes and all that stuff out with the update to that one, just kind of the verbiage on that August meeting minute. Other than that, I put it on the agenda, Chris. You'll be quite nice. I'm sure you'll be pleased to see that I put adjournment on the agenda. So unless there's anything else, we will go ahead and call it, and then we will plan on seeing you guys in December.
Oh,
Great.
Oh.
Quarterly convention in February. Put that on.
Oh, yeah.
Quarterly convention or quarterly meeting in February.
For the December meeting.
Yep, we need to get
Okay.
that and start planning it.
I did have a clarification question on my calendar. It still says there's a meeting on Thursday, but that was canceled, right?
Yeah, those are gone. I thought I got rid of those, but maybe
You
you didn't
sent
get the
out
update.
I must not have acknowledged the cancellation, but I'll do it. All right, thanks.
Yep. Sunday's going forward until further notice. So, all righty. Well, thank you guys very much, and let's keep up the fight. All right. Talk to you guys later.
See ya.
Thanks.
See you guys. Bye bye.